How would you characterize the crypto regulatory environment in the Middle East if you had to compare it to what we're seeing in the US right now?
I think it's just light. I mean, it's day and night, right? I mean, so what I can see, because I experience mainly the UAE, I think the regulators are very open. You can come up with an idea, have a dialogue with the regulator, agree on the way forward, and you're able to move forward with very quick speed. Also, you're able to very quickly mobilize in terms of team. You're able to scale up and then constantly go back to the regulator if the model changes in some way. So this is this healthy two-way dialogue that's creating the fertile ground for companies to grow in the Web3 space.
So the guy you were watching just now is Ashish Birla from Ripple. And he basically explains that right now, the SEC can go screw themselves. Let's be careful right there, because they're pretty known for suing everybody. But in all seriousness, what just happened right now is the SEC and Ripple getting into a different battle, as Ripple decided to head over for the most part and expand into the massive MENA market, or again, moving over to Dubai. Again, the way I personally see it, and Brad Garlinghouse and all the guys at Ripple for the most part agree. By the way, Ashish Birla, I met a month and a half ago or so, maybe 2 months ago. Really nice guy, really chill man. Brad, I've actually personally never met, but I think they all agree on one thing, which is go to the place where they want you the most, but where also it makes most sense for the company. For Ripple right now, it's like the US is just losing steam. They're fully against you, and I'd say that Ripple as a company is a very big benefit to your economy, again, as a country, so you'd want to have them. The fact that the SEC is so hesitant and so pushing back, if I was in their shoes, I'd also be looking to expand into all these different regions. Now note, they're not officially moving their headquarters and everything over just quite yet, but the fact that they are noticing, okay, 10% of our business, maybe 20%, they themselves said 20% of their business is in the Middle Eastern region, they know where the money is at, they know where the business is at, and they're going where it's the best, or where money flows best, or where business flows best. And the fact the SEC doesn't want them, well, nothing's really keeping them in the US, where obviously they would also be in a worse spot if they were to end up losing. But I always say, they can lose once, but once the judge takes a proper look at it in a higher court, I don't think there's any way that it would, continue to be a loss. I'd say that if we're looking at Coinbase and all these other crypto companies, there's just too much of a pushback. There's too much of a fight. The fact that also 75,000 people are backing it, but that's enough for today about that. We actually have a very important video today. So everything I just talked about is only Ripple XRP related, because a lot of you guys love it. But I want to inform you about everything that's going on in crypto so you can make proper decisions. I'm not a financial advisor, but I like to keep my followers up to date with all the most important news. So make sure that you press that like button. I took it very slow right there to make sure you actually go ahead and press that button. So first of all, two of the biggest market makers in crypto, they're taking their hands off, and that's bearish. We've seen it before that Bitcoin was crazy congested, that the fees were just absolutely out of this world, and that so many transactions were stuck. Well, apparently there were a couple of issues with Binance US, to be more specific. I don't see this article quoting it too much, but a couple of my inside knowledge pieces have said that there were a couple of opportunities where the price data, there was just a couple of issues with it, and Jump basically tried to pull their hands back from a couple of US exchanges. They've themselves just, again, I have an inside scoop, but they themselves right now are saying, amid tightening US regulations, major trading firms Jane Street and Jump Trading are adjusting their crypto strategies. You have to understand, if these two firms leave crypto all the way, the crypto space really won't exist the way it does now. They have so much more control than a lot of you guys realize. They say again that they're scaling back on crypto trading because of the industry cautious approach to navigate these regulations, which partially is true. But I think specifically they're shying a little bit away from some specific US exchanges, as they had a couple of issues quite recently. So again, I personally got the inside scoop from Binance US. If you actually take a look at Google Binance US arbitrage, you can see Binance US offers Bitcoin at a $700 premium. The Bitcoin price was $700 higher on Binance US Thursday, offering a unique arbitrage opportunity for traders. The fact that this was allowed to happen in any way, shape, or form, or that any speculation of this could arise, it doesn't sit well with those guys. Those are my thoughts though. Speculation and people saying it to me, feeding me this info, could be wrong. But I think it had a premium for a couple of days, so that was something very much off. The only place that can have them, those premiums, is Korea, because they're walled, which means you can't really move money to other exchanges from those, because you can only be on a Korean exchange if you are a Korean with the Korean numbers, etc. And as a Korean, you're not allowed to take your crypto out, basically, and all that stuff. They have a little walled garden, and in that little ecosystem on its own, they can do with the prices as they please. A lot of my Korean friends, what they do is they try to take some money out. I think you can only take out, let's just say $1,000 a month, but per family member, you could do that. So they kind of play around that game. I didn't know, but the article actually specifies it a little bit more. Some are speculating that it's due to market makers leaving the market over in the US, but apparently the order book depth hasn't really widened considerably versus other markets. But on the other side, we've just read as well that they're leaving due to regulatory action or the unclarity, which again, Gary Gensler is mostly facilitating, and it just is not positive for crypto in the US. It's just not so nice. Talking about crypto exchanges over in the US, take a look at this. Apparently OKX, international exchange, is throwing some shade at Coinbase and says their broken system needs a rewrite, not only an update. And it's actually just a little jab. At first, when I read this, I thought, oh, they're saying Coinbase is flawed. No. There was a little bit of FUD around Twitter regarding that, but it's actually only about some ad campaigns. Coinbase had an ad campaign that said, it's time to update the system. And OKX, because Coinbase kind of messed up with their ads a little bit, in a similar fashion as Crypto.com, where people were kind of fudding them and kind of laughing about them, they're saying the system needs a rewrite. Partially maybe also because of all these banks crashing, etc. That just the financial system needs to kind of update itself and get to a newer level. Not so sure. What I am more sure about is that Zimbabwe is continuing on with their digital currency tied to gold. Yeah, I'm just seeing small updates every little while here. I actually don't know too much about how it's going to get into place, what they're building it on, how they're going to build it. But as I said, I just keep seeing small updates here and there. We've also got a pretty cool, I take this with some parentheses right there. I should actually say apostrophes, I guess, but I'm taking this with a grain of salt, you know, the fun news or anything like that, because it's obviously hurt a lot of people. But what I'm talking about here is Mr. FTX himself. Disgraced FTX founder, Mr. Sam Bankman-Fried, says criminal charges were a rush to judgment, and now he's asking the court to dismiss them. He basically said, well, the crypto market's in a bad spot. That's what caused FTX to collapse. It wasn't me. He's trying to dodge all these fraud charges, which, in my opinion, is ridiculous. He said it's a classic rush to judgment. He has a motion to dismiss all but 3 charges in the criminal case against him. The charges he is not consenting at the moment are 5, conspiracy to commit commodities fraud, 6, conspiracy to commit securities fraud, and 11, conspiracy to commit money laundering. What? He, by the way, is still in house arrest in Palo Alto. And apparently, as I read here, he also faces a total of 13 different charges ranging from wire fraud to bribery claims. And apparently, his lawyers are trying to dismiss 10 of these charges, which is wild to me. The lawyers are basically saying that a big part of this was because of crypto winter, and that it's basically Bitcoin falling that caused this all to happen, instead of FTT specifically all falling, or that it was the secret loans from FTX to Alameda. It was Bitcoin falling. Yeah, interesting. And to their defense, they basically said it's, a little collapse of sorts of the entire crypto market, not just their company, which I always find interesting. Like I've said many times before, whenever a cat is held... A rat, is held in a tight little spot, he's going to try crawl himself a way out. And I guess I'm kind of thinking that's what we're seeing with Mr. FTX here. He has to find a way out. He has no more options. So all I can say is screw him. Yeah. Anyway, a Central Bank of Ireland governor urges policy action to combat crypto Ponzi. And I always appreciate that. Whenever these guys say, hey, there's something kind of wrong, we don't want Ponzi's in our town or some, I can never be angry because I understand. The only problem is this guy is not one of the good ones who just says, hey, we have to get rid of these crypto Ponzi so crypto as a entity, as a concept can survive. He basically just says, hey, this crypto stuff, this unbacked crypto stuff is more akin to a Ponzi scheme than an investment and pose risk to investors. It's 50-50, right? So whenever these guys call it out, I'm always on a little threshold of, are they calling it all a scam? Are they saying that they need to get rules into place so people can't build their own crypto anymore, so they can't build their own technology, so they can't go on, and that every crypto, kind of like Gary Gensler is doing, is an unregulated garbage type of thing? Or are they saying, let's take a look at all the scams, smack those down, and let the actual builders build and let this technology grow as a concept? But it's always a hard one because you never really know exactly what they think when they write things like this. Little side note, I thought that was pretty cool. Coinbase's legal chief sends a letter to the US SEC on misguided rulemaking. Well, I guess piece number 2, piece number 15, whatever piece you want to call this. Coinbase's CLO, Paul Grewal, who we talked about for a little while, says the U.S. proposed rulemaking on investment advisor custody rule is misguided. And it's just one of the many things the U.S. has been doing poorly. If you guys don't remember, the U.S. SEC was basically talking about how the rules regarding who may own crypto for who were going to change, which are custodians. Those are basically the holders of crypto for others. And apparently Coinbase, as a proper custodian for many big firms, they're asking for several changes to the proposed rule regarding RIA, regarding registered investment advisors' obligations to hold client assets at qualified custodians. The idea here being that RIAs, these proper investment firms, can only put their crypto at certain designated spots. And while the US SEC recognizes Coinbase custody as one of these proper spots, Coinbase believes the revised RIA custody rule singles out crypto to make inappropriate assumptions about custodian practices based on securities. The SEC proposed rulemaking fails to protect other asset classes, including crypto assets. Because again, this holding client asset situation was not specifically geared towards crypto, and they've not been doing a proper job at making it inclusive, the US SEC. Which again brings up the central point of, if the SEC was always so clear with what the rules on crypto were, why not always make it inclusive? Anyway, to not sit with that for too long, this was also very interesting. The US crypto exchange Bittrex seeks bankruptcy after the SEC complained. I have money on Bittrex, so I don't exactly know how I get that back, but the funds are all there. So they didn't exit scam fully. They just got a very big complaint from Uncle SEC a little while ago, and they probably didn't know exactly how to get out of that throttle. So they'll or situation, I guess. So they were like, you know what? Let's go for a reorganization. Because that's what my simple Google search found here. I believe a lot of those crypto companies from before went for a Chapter 11. The Chapter 11 debtor in possession. Chapter 11 typically used to reorganize a business, which may be corporation, sole proprietorship, or partnership. And in the notice, it basically says they have, as I said, all the money. The crypto exchange said it had more than 100,000 creditors with an estimated assets liabilities worth between 500 million and $1 billion. According to the bankruptcy petition. Why am I grabbing my arm like that? I don't know. Which was shared on Twitter by Randall Rees of Chapter 11 Dockets, a bankruptcy tracker. And that was after, again, they charged the Bittrex Global and the former CEO, William Shihara, on April 17th for allegedly encouraging crypto issuers who wanted to list their tokens on the exchange's platform to leak public statements that could lead regulators to investigate those token offerings as securities. Of course, Gary Gensler had some interesting comments again, but I don't want to talk about that too much today. Apparently, their largest debt owned was $24 million to the Treasury Department because of OVAC, and their biggest whale had only $14.6 million left. So I guess it wasn't that bad. Not even sure how much money I had left on there. Probably not too much. I never KYC'd my account, so if somebody wants to steal it, you go on right ahead. Because I will probably never claim this anyway. But it's peculiar. It's interesting to watch that exchanges that I've known for so many years. Again, I've been in crypto for so long and I've seen so many exchanges come and go. But it's funny. I think Cryptopia was one of the first ones I talked about when I was doing YouTube. You know, there's crypto stuff every single day. And Bittrex was, I think, maybe number 2, which at the time was one of the best exchanges out there. You have to realize that Binance, right now everybody knows it, but it came quite late. There was also a couple other ones. I've forgotten the name of it right now. I can't think of it at the top of my head. But it's funny how the top exchanges has changed so much. Where everybody buys their altcoins has changed so much. I literally only use Bybit for 95% of my services. Sometimes there's crazy coins or sometimes there's better trades over on BitGet, so I use it. Binance I only use for the card, but Bybit is going to have their card soon. So Binance I don't really ever need anymore, but I all think they're quite solid. Don't get me twisted. It's just funny how things are so changing. Anyway, that's about it for this video. I've talked about too much stuff already. It's like too long of a video already, but it's okay because it's good stuff. Good news, right? That's about it. See ya.